What a lovely day!
Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Giuseppe Montesano, Amish Earther, Naughty Thumbnails, Mitch Kennedy, Original D-Rose, Rod, The Name's Burley, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMals24, Unimento, M, Iron26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Golden McKiernan, Phoenix Rising 86, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fibre Oats, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neeland, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Henrik 86, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Tina Baker, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
And that's just the way it will be. So don't come here with that. We're not here for that unless you can prove that.
Yeah, you need empirical evidence. If you're going to bring something up, you need empirical evidence. Or else you're not going to entertain unicorns and fairy tales. Narnia. How can we support Narnia if you can't even
You need a measurement.
prove Narnia
You need a
exists?
measurement.
What's a measurement?
It's something that is repeatable.
Is it a direct measurement, or are you just using math?
It doesn't matter, but as long as it's repeatable, a measurement needs to be repeatable.
Yeah, but if my math is repeatable, what does that explain about reality?
No, we're talking about measurements, something physical.
Right. You need a physical measurement.
Yeah, a measurement is physical. Not only is physical, is repeatable. I'm not saying it's science, but it's repeatable and it's physical. You measure something. You're measuring something physical.
As long as you're physically measuring it.
Yeah, could be in volts, could be in whatever measurement you're doing. It's a measurement, repeatable. If they have that, yeah, why not? But show it and tell us what it is.
Yeah, and show something that supports that also. You can't just have that and claim that that's your empirical proof. I feel like you need something to back that up, right? Something other than just your maths.
Look, I have here the box with the background radiation or whatever it's nonsense they say. Yeah? So how do you measure it? How do you detect it? How can you prove that exists something inside of that box? We don't see anything. There is no way of measuring it. So it's just so story. Nothing more. If there is no measurement, if there is... that's it. It's the end of the story. Just a story.
Black swan. The black swan is a measurement. But that's not the only thing that we have. We have entropy, second law of thermodynamics. We have all these other proofs that support not only that measurement, but the
Where is
the opposite side of the claim as the globe. So I feel like just having a measurement isn't good enough. You need more than one piece of evidence that supports not only that measurement, but what you're trying to claim.
Well, in our case, we do have measurements.
Because we're nullifying. We're nullifying the claim. That's what we're doing.
In our case, we do have measurements for a flat and stationary Earth.
Oh, absolutely. But I'm saying that the maths isn't just all that we have. We don't just have numbers. The black swan is a measurement to a platform by, a radius of 3959 and the observer's height in feet, blah, blah, blah. That's the measurement, but it's not the only thing that we have as evidence or to nullify the claim, I should say. We also have the second law of thermodynamics, entropy, that also nullifies the claim. Because we're not claiming anything, we're nullifying their claim.
And the no Earth-based Coriolis, we also have that.
That too. Yeah, we have a whole bunch of stuff that nullifies their claim. We're proving the null. Their claims are blasted out of the water by a Utonium bomb.
Well, the black swan, what it shows is that the horizon is not physical and it's not geometrical either.
Right.
It moves with the weather.
That's another
Yeah.
one.
So that's what the black swan shows. It's not the leading edge of a sphere. It's not physical.
Right, but it's
It
also
depends
not
the
just
radius
math.
of the Earth because of what you observe. You observe the horizon position to be further than. So that's it. It's the end game for the horizon. Any claim of the horizon to be something else that is not, rather than the visible boundary where the sky appears to meet the land or the sea, would be a reification fallacy. It's been proven it's not physical. That's it.
Correct, I agree.
It's observable, testable, repeatable, falsifiable.
Meanwhile, if you want to travel somewhere, just grab a map, yeah? See where the destination is, and mark a line from here to there, how many miles, this direction I'm going to take, and everything else. You're using a flat plane to navigate. You're using ground position, a ground position Cartesian system in order to pinpoint your destination or where you're going to pass through. That is absolute proof of a flat plane, measurably flat.
Indeed.
Hi, Nathan.
Hello. I'm well on
Hey,
my way
Nathan.
to making a third of a 3-part video series based on New Moon's visit yesterday. So New Moon came and fought 3 Jarenism arguments. One was on Bobbity, one was on science, and one was on the tangent in celestial navigation to a sphere. So I'm about 50% through making the third one, and the first 2 have been released already to members. I'll release them to the public next week. They are called temporary titles. They might change. Jarenism Disciple Embarrassment Part 1, Bobbity, and Jarenism Disciple Humiliation Part 2, Science. And the third one, as I say, is going to be called, I don't know, Celestial Navigation or Tangents, or I don't know what I'll call the third one, but I'm only halfway through editing it.
I was just saying, Nathan, you know, that guy was, I feel these guys who are coming in on purpose as and just putting an act on. I think the acting, I don't think they're genuine. I mean, I've just been speaking to George. He thinks it's because they're not up to date, but I think they're coming on here knowing what Jaren's been talking about.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you, Neil. We heard you the whole time interrupting. We just no one wanted to respond because they were in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah, so I feel they're coming in as just this is an act. Putting on this. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was on mute in G+. Sorry, he couldn't hear me reply. Yeah, we hear you, Neil.
Yeah.
We heard you the whole time.
The whole time. I said 4 words.
Okay. Carry on, Dick. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I think you got the gist. I think they come in here as intending to do what they're doing. I don't think they're genuine people getting confused as it sounds. I think it's an act, a ploy of some kind. Or am I being paranoid?
I think they're being white knights. They're followers of the other side, and they're butthurted for some reason, and they're coming in to represent.
Well,
It's
if
not
you read
working out
Kiwi's
for you,
chat
are you?
You
yesterday,
can focus on this all you like, but all you can do is take them apart based on their argumentation. That's it. That's all you can do.
Yeah, true. But it was strange because he was saying, you know, he started off as a flat earther. Then he was arguing the case of you can get an elevation angle from a curved surface. And, you know, and this balloon argument he's going on with, how he can't get to grips with this, that the balloon, you know, the gas is inside the balloon and the gas is expanding in the balloon. And it's the balloon that's actually, you know, going down in the vacuum, not the gas. I mean, how many
I think
times?
I
I think it was
I think I see the
13
tactic one day. I think they
but
got a game plan. They know if they could come in and do this over and over again, Nathan will end up having a heart attack and the flat earth debate will be gone. I see the game.
I'm not going to have a heart attack, Neil. I think it'll be fine.
But then
No,
he
your
could debunk
voice went to a
himself by
level I
invoking
never heard
entropy.
before. Okay.
My exasperation yesterday, I declared after the fact. I was like, that was genuine. In other words, that's what I sound like when I'm actually exasperated about something. Well, in this instance, I'm exasperated at the fact that somebody who's professing to be a fan or a disciple or whatever you want to call it of Jaren is here telling us about how a globe would work. Now, it doesn't work the way he's fighting for, but that is a very unusual circumstance and sad. It's saddening. So my exasperation is my realization as I'm speaking of the awful truth of the situation, Neil. That's all it is. I'm not going to have a heart attack.
You know what? I was feeling how you was feeling. At some points I was laughing, but I could actually feel that what you was thinking when you was saying this. That what is fucking going on here? What is happening? There's something happening at the moment, and has been this build up to this, whatever it is.
Right,
I don't know what it is myself.
Well, it's a sad day when someone like Ranty turns around and says, actually, I think it's a globe now. Okay, that's obviously a sad day, but you get over that pretty quickly. It's a much, much, much worse situation when one of the perceived leaders of the flat earth, that would be Jarenism, has disseminated an argument to his audience, in this case, tangents working on a globe, and then that argument has been so effective in brainwashing the cult of Jarenism that they come to flat earth debate to fight as flat earthers whilst detailing Jaren's argument specifically by name. That's a really, really sad day, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, very, very. Yeah, it's undescribable. I haven't got a word to describe it.
Good morning.
Do you think?
Morning.
You think it's going to be? Oh, here he is. Is it a whole new video today, or are we going to go over celestial navigation video we missed yesterday?
We went over
Hopefully.
celestial navigation, so we went over it with the guy called New Moon. Were you not here for that? Was it Squirrel that was just talking?
Yeah, I was here, but the new moon kind of distracted from that video. You liked it, and I don't know. I never got to hear it.
Well, maybe we
I don't know, though, mate.
maybe we didn't get to hear a specific video, but obviously that's going to take precedent. If there's a guy coming in fighting a corner for anything Earth related, that's always going to take precedent over any video. But that was far more useful. I mean, that's turned into a video about celestial navigation that really illustrates. I went to the effort of producing a little animation showing what the guy was arguing. So he's arguing about a tangent coming from the point on the top of the sphere out to 90 degrees below a star on that tangent. Well, I just animated that with a couple of clips of a globe, and I used my screenshot button as the star. You know what I mean? It was crude, but it was enough to have an animation to detail visually, where in the moment I'm saying I don't need any diagrams. I'm good enough, I'm eloquent enough to be able to detail this verbally for you to conceptualize it. And he did. You know, he followed along and could concede conceptually without any diagrams. Well, in the video I've made, it's got diagrams. It's all about celestial navigation and 90s on a sphere that they don't have at ground positions. Incredibly useful for people to learn this stuff as a result of Jaren's negativity. So there's always going to be some roses coming out of this shit pile that is Aether.
So did you or did you not play that video?
Oh, God. No, I didn't play his video or the guy who was arguing Blue Moon or whatever he's called.
Yeah, I think Matthew thought that he distracted us, but I thought it was a great show yesterday.
Okay. I'm just trying to catch up to what's going on. So you did not play the video that I put up a review. Matthew wanted that, but the guy was here And I agree with Neil. That was much better to let him talk.
This steering mariners or Sterling Mariner. I can't see my projector's
Steering
slightly out of
Mariners.
focus, and I can't read. I'm gonna have to address that before I start live. Actually, I need to be able to read what's on my projection screen. Just give me a second while I change the focus.
No problem. So this thing happening with Jaren, you guys were talking about it when I jumped on. One deck, you were saying something.
Yeah, I was just saying. I was saying a few things. You know, now they're coming in with this. It's just amazing what's happening. It almost looks like it's a plot or an act, but you know, like you say, it's a cult. It's the cult leader, and Jarenism's telling them about this. You don't need a, you know, you can get an elevation. You don't need a curve for that, and they're coming in preaching this to us. But Nathan, I think it was a good show, especially and I was just going to say the way Nathan overemphasized about this tangent line only being 1 point on the curve, and the rest of the line is out into space, and it's not even so it's not a ground position, and we're dealing with ground positions. And he went over and over that. So somebody who may be struggling in that area, I think it really could help hit home the actual argument.
Now we are joined by Neil, Righteous Force, Eli, 10th Man, Refracted Curvature, Original D-Rose, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, what was that? What are we, in 1993
Aussie.
again? Is this a Bud commercial? Hell no. Let's not do that again.
No, it's me, no moon. It's me, no moon. Good morning. Yeah.
That is a terrible Indian accent.
That's what I heard yesterday.
Right, no racism
when I
here.
listened to your thing.
Right, as a
It
devout...
sounded like Johnny Five. Remember Johnny Five, that robot thing film? Sounded like that.
Look,
Johnny
no,
Five.
racism,
Thank you,
please.
thank you,
No.
thank you.
Let's less of that, please. Right, no. As a devout Jewish Christian monk of the Order of India, you know, find that very offensive. So let's not do that again. Anyway, any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
Not since 2020, 1st of January, with the Black Swan.
What's the video that you wanted to cover, Squirrel? The one that we had up the whole time yesterday that we never actually pressed play on? Steering Mariners channel.
Steering Mariners channel. If we don't get to it, I'll just review it.
I was like, yeah, that's the attitude, to be perfectly honest. If you don't finally get to it, I'll do it myself. Well, yeah, that's kind of, although in a lot more negative tone, I said to the last guy, who was like, play this video. No, let's have the debate. Anyway, yeah, we will get to this today, and for that reason, I'm going to, share it out now, so that we definitely, at the very least, give him some algorithmic love, even if he doesn't necessarily have his stuff come up because someone else joins and we end up talking about dearth or something. Anyway, right. We'll have one more housekeeping question just to keep us on track for doing them regularly. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
You would need a radius of the Earth for that, but Black Swan 2020.
Indeedy.
You're also going to need an elevation angle.
Good.
Go on, Jorge, then D-Rose. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying you're also going to need an elevation angle. It requires a flat plane for that.
Indeed, that's a flat Earth proof right here, if you're looking at distances to the sun. Go ahead, D-Rose.
I was going to say, first, ain't you got to prove that it's a physical thing? And if you can't get there, then how the hell can you tell how far it is? I mean,
with
we
radar,
haven't established what it is.
Hold on a minute. I love
you can
that.
do radar.
You can do radar? Oh, okay. So when you're using radar and you're going to presumably get the signal back, how would you know when to look for the timings for when it will be returning back so you can affirm your presuppositions of an R-based heliocentric model? How will you know where to look for those timings in terms of the return signal?
Well, you use the incident angle of the radar, right? So you get that angle of return.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize you were taking this straight to all roads lead to a flat Earth. This is a new one. Okay, so what you're saying is when you... Let's get the whole kit and caboodle in one statement. Let's see how concise I can keep this. When you assert that you can declare that you've got a 93 million mile sun because you have directed radar at the sun and got a return signal that's within the timing parameters of a presupposed heliocentric world with the scaling values at those timings that confirm Huygens' assumption of Venus at the same radial value as Earth with an assumed radial value that cannot be measured in a geometric manner, so that you can have your affirmation of the return angle timings for all that garbage I just mentioned off a flat Earth. Is that correct, John?
Yeah, you would call it the plane of reference.
For the return angle of radar, in this instance, affirming distance to the sun. John, I could kiss you. You're fantastic, mate. You're brilliant. Isn't that wonderful? Recently, we've been saying all roads lead to a flat Earth. Why is there only 44 people watching for this absolute gold? Yeah, all roads lead to a flat Earth. And while we did it with...
Excuse me.
Go ahead, D-Rose.
Just can we say that was a great segue for me as I passed the baton to John for him to go there? Can we give him credit for that?
Not really. I mean, if we did that, we'd have to affirm that Brian really
Well,
actually came up with this a couple of weeks ago.
I'll give myself credit. Hercules. Good job.
Okay, well, fine. We'll credit you for passing the baton. Now you've got to credit Brian for coming up with it 2 weeks earlier.
Amen. Thank you, Brian.
Okay, never mind.
Yes, thank you, Brian. But in all seriousness, yes, John, you're really getting good at this. Maybe you did it once before and it slipped me by, where it's, fantastic timing right at the beginning of housekeeping. We're asking for distance to the sun and radar. I've got to be honest, at one point, I didn't know how to overcome that. I'm like, wow, you got a measurement of it. What, with timings that are presupposed and some guy from NASA going, yeah, it's definitely in that fuzz there where we expect it, the exact timings that the heliocentric model gives us. Obviously. Couldn't you see it? Anyway,
Nathan,
now it's...
Can I ask a question on that? Sorry, Nathan.
Well, while we just confirm the conclusion first, One Deck. Yeah, off a flat Earth, though, right? All roads lead to a flat Earth. This is no exception. Go ahead, One Deck. Thanks, John.
I'm just saying, I did listen to that, but I haven't totally absorbed it all. I'll listen back on that. But this radar to the sun, they're claiming that they can fire a radar to the sun and it bounces back to Earth.
This is going to be some racist remark about black bodies. I'm not having it. As a transgender black Jewish woman, I'm not going to have it at all. It's not on.
No, I'm saying, how can they presume a radar is going to bounce back off the sun? What is the sun?
Yeah, but regardless of that, you need to have a baseline for your starting point and ending point, which is the flat plane.
Right. That's the main... oh, right, you say it's 93 million miles away. That's how you measured it. Oh, right, off a flat plane. Just concede this crap. I love shortcuts like this. That's why I'm smiling from ear to ear, right, John? All I see in this, because I'm bloody lazy, is a shortcut. That's what this is. So you could just give them all of it, right, John? You're the master of just saying, how can you give every last aspect of their argument to them without any concern? And this is one of those instances. What's that? You can measure the distances with radar. Wow. Tell me all about it. Give me the methodology. How does the angle work? Oh, right, off a flat plane. Epic.
Orbital mechanics are the same way. They do the same thing with it.
One more time. It's the same with orbital mechanics, did you say?
Yeah. When they do their Huygens assertion, all that, they're using the celestial sphere and the plane.
Oh God, that's a bit much to us. I've got to shoehorn in that while Huygens is making the assumption of Venus and taking Kepler's third law to give them the scaling values, that he's also derived off a flat plane. I suppose it's not that difficult to shoehorn in. Also, another road within the road that leads to a flat Earth. Oh, I love it. This roadmap leading to a flat Earth is getting bigger and bigger all the time. Same with the return angle signal for molten iron core.
Hello.
Yeah, the P waves and S waves require a flat plane to. Yeah.
Yep. Flat Earth needed. So let them tell you all about P waves and S waves. Get them to detail the methodology of the return angle. Angle? What's the baseline? Oh, right, flat Earth. Oh, that's good for proving a flat Earth, eh? Okay, should we do this video? Who did join, by the way? Welcome, whoever just joined. I wasn't paying attention. Ghost of Christmas Past.
Horizontal sextant angles,
Very
as well
quiet.
as celestial body altitudes. The topic for today, we only focus on celestial body altitudes. Taking a celestial body altitude is very similar to taking a vertical sextant angle.
Is everybody okay with the Spanish accent? We're all.
Is that New Moon?
I don't know,
No,
it's New Moon
no, it's
Spanish?
fine. He's not Spanish.
Okay, right. So we're going to share his video again. Again, give this guy some love and let him know. At NathanOakley1980 sent me. So, oh God, someone's off mute, squelching down their mic. Who's that? No one's going to admit. Thank you, whoever that was. Let him know at NathanOakley1980 sent me and leave him a nice comment. Hopefully it'll help him algorithmically. The idea being very selfish, that we want the algorithmic love to return our way should he respond. And say, actually, no. Every angle I detail in this video is actually coming from a curved surface. Don't you understand? Curved adjacent? We'll see. I don't know what his response would be. I can't remember this video, although I have given it a thumbs up already. So yeah, let him know. Hopefully he'll do the same in return.
A celestial body altitude actually measures the angle between the celestial body and the horizon.
That's it. We're done. Back it up. We win. Earth's flat. That's it. What? Do we need any more? Was it squirrel? Done. 32 seconds into the video. Don't need anything else. I mean, we're not going to stop there. but that's it. We win. That's it. That's all we need.
Well, right here is where all these anti-flat earthers come and sextant deniers come and say, oh, you don't need the horizon to get the angle. You could use a bubble section. You could use an eye-line horizon using a spirit level. Yeah, we're talking about the Mariner sextant, which has a horizon mirror. And this gentleman is explaining you need the horizon. So they think they're clever by going to a bubble sextant that gives you the same thing that the Mariner sextant does after all the deductions to make it a right angle. I mean, it's such a stupid way to come into this platform since we know how a sextant works.
Who are they talking about? Nobody's Indian. Chat's going mad saying, sounds Indian. Who?
He
No,
is.
10th sounds perfectly American to me. I don't know what they're talking about.
No,
Anyway.
the steering Mariner.
It's very similar
Indian.
to that of a lighthouse when we measure the angle between the lighthouse and the horizon. If we take the top of the...
So maybe I need to change up.
Wow. Oh my God.
and the angle that it makes with the sea level. The principle of a sextant is that whenever we measure an angle, we measure it.
Okay, I heard the first time. I'm just not that quick on my mouse button.
The show's kind of crazy today, but you need to rewind that last 2-3 seconds. The angle with the sea level.
Take the top of the lighthouse and the angle that it makes with the sea level.
Pause that picture. He's shooting from a boat to a lighthouse on a cliff, and he's using sea level. He's not seeing the horizon where the sky meets the ground. He's seeing the shoreline to the beach, then the cliff, then the lighthouse. He's got a right angle triangle there. So, it's kind of the same thing when you point to the horizon then, isn't it? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
The principle of a sextant is that whenever we measure an angle, we measure it at sea level so that the angles can be used to plot the ship's position or the observer's position on the surface of the Earth.
Sea level, surface of Earth, Earth's flat, it's on screen. This is how it's done.
Now I want John to jump in and talk about eye-line horizon, depression angle correction between two horizontals. That's exactly what's happening when you do height of eye correction, bringing your eyeballs to sea level.
Yeah, I'll use their language, though, so they can understand it. You're getting a horizontal to the plane of reference. They just believe their plane of reference is the center of Earth, which it's not. It's actual mean sea level in the model, which is a flat plane with a celestial sphere wrapped around it. There's no Earth curve in any of that.
And what
If you look
happens, John, when they do it with a pre-assumed globe? Isn't it below surface level?
Well, no, that calculation is a differential between the horizontal plane and the plane of reference. And you're just calculating the loss of information. And that's what that arc below surface level is supposed to represent. And they just draw a line of correlation and call it a tangent.
Thanks, John. Cutting edge.
It's going to
look at
be
the celestial body, we are using the sextant basically to measure the angle between the celestial body and the horizon. You can see with the red arrow, I have shown you the angle that it.
Why has he got two versions of it? Why has he got absurdium on the right with ground positions that aren't on the ground, and then normality with ground positions on the ground on the left? Why has he got two versions on screen?
No, he's got that's his next slide he hasn't commented on. He
okay.
It's just a purview.
Okay.
So
makes. Considering the surface of the Earth, we basically bring down the celestial body at sea level and try to make.
Whoa. You bring the celestial body down to sea level. Your 90-degree point isn't at sea level on this diagram. It's absurd.
No. Don't miss it. The surface. Just play the last 10 seconds again, please.
Measure the angle
There's so much
the angle that it makes. Considering the surface of the Earth, we basically bring down the celestial body at sea level and try to measure the angle in such a way that it can be used in future to plot the observer's position at sea.
Got it?
I could have gone out and taken a video on how to use a sextant to measure the celestial angle, but then I would not have been able to show you what it looks like from the observer's eyes.
Stop.
For that reason only, I have used
magic moment. He could have easily done what all the other videos do. You do this with the sextant, do that. He's saying, I'm going to show you what it looks like through the observer's eye. And what does he do? He does a right angle triangle on a globe. And he says, this is what it looks like in the orthographic view of what the navigator's doing. All these guys that.
But then I would not have been able to show you what it looks like from the observer's eyes. For that reason only, I have used a PowerPoint presentation to show you. For those of you who have never ever taken a sextant sight, you can visualize what actually goes through the observer's eyes when he's taking or she is taking a sextant sight of a celestial body altitude. As you can see here, you basically keep the sextant at 0 degrees and 0 minutes. And as you start moving the sextant, you basically try to bring the celestial body onto the horizon.
That's it. It's as simple as that. So you're measuring the angle. So you're moving the mirror with the tool. And as you move it, it gives you an angle measurement. This is a glorified protractor. But what you're seeing through the lens is, as described, you're bringing whatever you're measuring down to meet the horizon. So they're on the same plane in your eyepiece. Then what you do once you've done that is see what angle you've actually got on the protractor or sextant. This
he's got
it's curved. Go ahead, 10th.
I don't know why our timing is off today, but I was commenting on something very special before this slide, but I'll just stay to this slide and we'll come back to the other one later. He's going to rock the sextant in a minute to get perpendicular so he can get the vertical of the star or sun that he's doing. Because it's the Mariner sextant is used to find out the zenith position of the star against the horizon, perpendicular. And he said we're using the surface of the Earth, sea level. Those words are so important. The surface of the Earth, sea level. Now, the reason it's important is the previous slide showed him drawing a right angle triangle on a globe. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, he says, I'm going to show it to you the way the observer sees it. Now, what does the observer see? He never sees the dingleberry. He sees a right angle on the horizon. I mean, it's so good. He's showing you the way the observer sees it. There is no curve to navigate or negotiate. All you do is bring your eyeball down to the surface of the sea with the correction, and you got a right angle triangle. Then when he puts it on top of a dingleberry, it looks ridiculous. But he says, I'm showing you what the observer sees. meaning no curve.
Show you, you just give the sextant a gentle rock of your hand to make sure that it forms an arc with the horizon. Once again, you can see what is happening here. You keep it at 0 degrees and 0 minutes. Bring the celestial body down to the horizon. Make sure that the body is just kissing the horizon. The lower limb of the sun is just kissing the horizon. We use the word kissing the horizon. That means it's just making a tangential arc to the horizon. Once the body is at the horizon, you gently rock the hand to make sure when the body is just making an arc with the horizon.
I like his animation. I've got to be honest. This showing you how it's measuring the angle and how what you're looking at is being brought down to kiss the horizon as he describes it accurately. Great diagrams, great animations.
This is more clear
He
in the next slide.
Yes, he did. I know that too. He said it was a tangent, but what he's describing is the circle of the sun touching the horizon. Now, I don't mind that being called a tangent. He's invoking something when he says that. You're right. But at this point, I didn't deem it worthy to comment on necessarily, but you have now, so what the hell? Yeah, what tangent? What are you talking about? Just because it's the sun touching the horizon, you're going to call it tangent too? No, you're just getting the item you're measuring to meet the horizon because those two lines are going to give you an angle on the tool. It's nothing to do with tangency. But there we go, you're right.
Slide. As you can see, once it is near the horizon, you bring it lower enough just for it to gently touch the horizon and not literally go below the horizon. So just rock the sextant till the time you see the celestial
Okay, but you're overriding the pudding a little bit, but there we go.
body doing this.
Can I say something,
Just kissing
Nathan?
the
Yeah, go ahead.
The tangency that he's talking about in the animation is the horizontal meeting the lower part of the circle of the sun.
Yes.
So
correct.
you are measuring to that tangent part.
Yes, correct.
That point where those two meet.
Yeah, if you're going to give it a description to say that you're only ever going to get the sun to literally just kiss, a word to describe that would be the point of tangency, where you've got literally just a single point touching the line of the horizon. So in one respect, you go, oh, we're kind of majoring on the minors if we focus on that too much. Now we've had two people talk on it, me comment on it twice, but that's good. I was going to brush by it. We focused on it indefinitely. It's good. 93 people watching. Thank you for sharing the show. Those of you who come regularly and share it immediately, that's the only reason we're edging our way up to 100 people watching. If you have just joined us, thank you for joining us. Please share the show also. Hopefully we'll get to 100 people if a few of the newbies actually smash that share button. So share.
Would you like 3 people talking about it? Very important. What John...
the tangent bit.
Yeah. Why do you think they rock it? Again, you got to ask the question, why are they rocking it to get the lower limb of the sun to barely kiss the Earth's surface there? They're rocking it to get a perpendicular, a 90, the 90 of the sun. People aren't thinking the purpose of this is twofold, because you're going to have to subtract from 90 to get your zenith, which is the co-altitude, because you don't have a Plumb bob. So how are you going to find out your zenith, where you are in the ocean?
You turn that into lyrics, D-Rose? They're rocking it to get a perpendicular. Something like that.
Wow, what a day.
The horizon. Once you see this happening, this is the time you note down the sextant angle in degrees, minutes, or in seconds, and note down the time of observation. Just a few precautions before I end the video for today. Make sure that all your sextant errors are corrected so that there are no additional errors in it. You should be aware of your index error and include it in your calculations. Don't overdo the shades on the sextant. When you're taking a sextant sight, especially for a sun, the sun could be bright and you need to use shades. But don't overdo the shades. The more shades you introduce, the more chances of error creeping in.
I didn't know about that. Shocking as I've watched the video previously, but so you've got sunglasses for the sextant. That makes sense.
Into your readings are there. Always start from the left and then move over to the dark shade over the sun. We're talking about the shades that you use on the sextant. And finally, bring down the celestial body slowly and eventually evenly. Take your time and make sure that you get an accurate position for the observer on the ship. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. That was great. Many issues I had with that. Let him know at NathanOakley1980 sent me. We really liked your video. Very good. Liked your animations, liked your Spanish accent. Everything about it was ace. Shout out to Godzilla, who says, please, please, no more singing, Nathan. Yeah, if it was someone else doing it, I would have condemned them immediately and told them to never do that again. Also, Gord, I've got to be honest. I am no singer.
He's not Spanish. He's Hindi.
What?
Did I miss the part about the Geno point?
I've edited half of that already, so I might as well plug my own videos to my members. Why not? As you brought it up, so I'm halfway through there or thereabouts editing the video that's just been referenced by Chocolate saying, where the guy, New Moon, I think he's called, was asked what a GP was, and his answer was globe point, and then when he was told that that wasn't correct, he said it was the Gina point, and the comments went nuts, you know, in the live stream. They were like, what? Gina point? No, not a Gina point. Anyway, that's halfway through being done, but it's part of 3, because the guy came with 3, I kid you not, of arguments that had already been put to me by Jaren. And he, you know, was quite happy to profess the fact that he was putting these arguments on Jaren's behalf, in quotes. He wasn't like Witsit, or, you know, when he's here representing Dave Weiss, and you're happy to take it as read that he's speaking for Dave Weiss when he says he's speaking for Dave Weiss. They're very close friends. They talk often. Yeah, when Witsit, he might see me being derogatory to Witsit, but by the same token, you have to understand there's a certain degree of respect also being offered, while I kind of demean the fact that Witsit does have the right to come here and say, yeah, I can speak for Dave Weiss. Now, obviously, I'm then going to say, well, speak for Dave Weiss's abuse of the words in science, because if you're speaking for him, there's a problem, right? If you understand how it's not science that he's claiming, that's an aside. But my point is that he can speak for Dave Weiss or Jaren. You know, that's a legitimate, you know, acceptance when someone like Witsit says that. When some Joe Blogs cult follower of Jaren comes along and says he's like, I speak for Jaren because I've watched his videos and now want to parrot his arguments that are crap. No, you don't get to do that. That's not fair on me. It's not fair on the audience. It's certainly not fair on Jaren, especially as this guy's never even spoken to him. So, you know, there's a distinction. Anyway, I'm getting way off track here. That's the third in a series of... I'm nearly done. I'm nearly done. Nearly done.
What if I have a proof of a downward bias?
Thank you for that. So that's...
No, he's just using Jaren as a citation for his argument. That's what he's
Perhaps.
doing.
Either way. He's making the argument, not Jaren. It's him that's got to accept the losses when he didn't, and it's him that's being held to task. Now, I'm doing it in Jaren's name because he's brought it up. When he reverts to, well, Jaren said this, it's like, no, you're not going to do that. I'm going to blame Jaren for your failure. In spite of it being Jaren's argument you're parroting. I'll use that against you, not the other way around. Anyway, the point is that's a part 3 in a 3-part series. 2 and 1 are already released to members. So it's Jarenism Disciple Humiliated and Jarenism Disciple Embarrassment, part 1 and part 2. As I say, 1 is about Bobbity, 2 is about science. 3, when it finally comes out, will be about celestial navigation. I'll probably just put navigation because it's a bit more catchy. But it'll be about the tangent he claimed with a 90-degree position out in space that is not on the ground. The ground position isn't on the ground on a globe on a tangent. Anyway, that was a nice succinct summary of part 3 that's still going to end up being 25 minutes long. Done.
Was that a Glober? Was that a Glober making the argument that the Earth is a sphere?
No. So in the pre-show,
Yes, it was a
Neil
Glober.
said he was worried that I was going to have a heart attack yesterday. No, I've just got genuine aspiration, as opposed to, and I'm happy to admit to this, most of the time, if I'm honest, I'll ham up my perceived exasperation to over-egg the pudding, to make a point more clear, you know, for dramatic effect. Whereas yesterday was different. I was genuinely exasperated, as I am now, just thinking about it, if I'm honest, because you're suddenly in the realization that what you're doing is fighting a globe argument with someone who's come to tell you that they are actually a Jarenism fan, a flat earther, but here to fight how Jaren says this does work on a globe. That's a sad, sad day. And I'm realising it while I'm arguing with the guy. Well, you can hear that in my voice. And I did disclaim that after the fact. I'm like, no, that was genuine exasperation. Because I can't quite believe what's bloody happening. Can't believe there's someone coming because they've heard Jaren make an argument for how tangents do work on a globe. and then they're fighting it basically on his behalf because they've heard it from him. And you're like, you're a flat earther. What's going on?
I don't understand that. Why was he making an argument that there is this curving if he's a flat earther? I still can't understand that.
I can't understand it either. I mean, my exasperation led me to say, look, unsubscribe from Jaren. He's not a flat earther. If his arguments that are out there are being put to us in his name to fight for the globe, you like at that point, this guy becomes the enemy. Literally.
Jaren's an anti-flat earther now, and so is everybody that follows him.
Well, that's sad, isn't it? There's me appealing to him. I'm thinking next 6 months from now, the dust will settle and I can go back to him and say, look, we really do need to understand how hypothesis construction offers empirical evidence if the methods perform properly with the actualization of that hypothesis. That would be an experiment. That's science. It proves things. 6 months from now, that's my aspiration. Okay. Is that going to be the case if he's our enemy? He's sending people here to defend the globe? And how the tangent works? It doesn't. That's part 3 of the video. You'll get it next week if you're a member of the public. Otherwise, become a member. There's a button right there. Just press it. Couple of bucks. Anyway, you can see part 1 and 2 if you're a member. But yeah, it defies belief. I can't quite believe my ears. Jaren sending people here to fight for the globe. That's in essence what's happening. No, he's not directly told the guy, go and fight for the globe. He's just put a globe argument that he got from Toon out there for his audience to hear, and they've parroted it to us. That's a sad, sad, sad situation. It's a sad... No, I won't.
Yeah, I can't wrap my head around it yet. I'm trying to.
You got to listen to the show, and you'll hear it. It'll blow your mind.
Your moment, Neil. Hold on.
Why is it sad?
Hold on. Neil doesn't often get a time in the show where he's interjected and been shut down 60, 70 times on this. Told not to give his colour commentary. Told to not give his opinion on people's motivation. Sometimes you do actually see that. There can't be any other conclusion. Jaren has literally disseminated an argument that's come to us via one of his fans for a globe. You were right, Neil. I have to eat humble pie. You've been nagging at me and I've been demeaning you over this argument you've put forth to us. Now, all the legitimacy for not arguing that particular point, appealing to motivation, I'm not rescinding and not taking that back. But your overarching point that you were trying to make and trying to get across to me was right. And that I did put down also. But you were right. So I'm just going to say that right here, right now, when you were urging us alongside QE to do something about it. Well, you know, last night while we were having a little chit chat after the show finished, which I don't normally hang around for, that's it. You got to go. Well, what do we do now? Well, suddenly we've got a new enemy. That's sad. I can't quite believe I'm saying it. There's a frog in my throat while I think about it. It's just not a good situation. But you were right, Neil.
It's a wonderful situation.
Neil.
What do you mean it's sad?
And
that's not wonderful.
Just gathering it.
You're wonderful.
He's gathering it all in.
You're telling me it's wonderful that someone with over 100,000 subscribers, professing to be a flat earther, is putting out arguments that get echoed for a globe. You think that's good?
Yeah.
I think that's awful.
Yeah, I'll tell you why. Because the 160,000 subscribers could have their eyes open. Well, I'm thinking of the audience, not him who's putting out the false information. This is a wonderful thing. Because if you're a charlatan and you get to fool people till the day you die, that's sad. But he's been caught, and that's good.
Godzilla 37 from the chat says, the method is the very thing that gives the word science its inherent authority. Someone needs to ask Jaren to define pseudoscience. In the discussion between myself and Jaren, Godzilla, at one point Jaren said that I cut and paste. There was only one thing that I cut and paste for him, and that was the definition of pseudoscience. So the inherent and incorrect belief that you have an application of the scientific method where one is not applied, that's pseudoscience.
I'll admit that I have to echo the sentiment. This is one of the few times I don't agree with 10th. I don't think it's a good thing that this guy who's got all these subs, is running out there giving these people this sort of an argument. Because what the hell? You've been a sub of this flat earther for 6-7 years, and what you're arming your audience with is allowing all types of begging the question fallacies and ridiculous arguments, and that's what you're giving your subs to go out into the world with. That's crazy to me.
Right. But Chocolate, in what you just said is the good news that we call them out so that those subs could see that these are begging the question, scamming type that he said we do, but he's doing. He goes on McToon and makes friends with the enemy and then comes back to his audience and says it works on the globe. And you said he was a flat earther. I'm not sure about that.
101 people watching. Let's see if I can do justice to Shatner's bassoon and his super chat. Whoa, this sextant's of fire. Kings of Leon. Thank you, Shatner's bassoon.
You can't.
Wow.
You can't control people. We can't go to Jared and say, stop it, do the right thing. But we can afford the time for his audience to see how his arguments fail so they have a chance to make a decision based on facts. So I'm thinking of the 160,000, not Jared, because you can't make anyone do something, but you can at least expose it. So it's a great day for me. It's not a sad day for me because I can't change Jared anyway.
Ever the salesman.
He said no one's going to change him.
Positive spin.
Those three arguments that they put forward are three arguments that seem like they're aimed at re-indoctrinating someone to a heliocentric faith.
Precisely. What have we got? We've got anti-science in one of those videos. Check it out if you remember, part 2. One of them is about essentially gravity. Now, I've paraphrased it because every aspect of the argument is identical to gravity until the point that the guy says, I actually don't believe in space. At which point you're like, well, why are you fighting for a downward bias that doesn't apply to gas that's pressing up on a balloon? Well, the answer is because he's got bobbity, as Anthony Riley coined it. That would be the downward bias for incoherent dielectric accelerative force in the background medium they have that's called counter space. Well, that garbage is identical to gravity if you want to bullshit your way around a downward bias we don't have, which it sounds identical to in the initial part of that video, part 2. Jarenism disciple gets annihilated. Bobbity. That's the title of the part 2 video I'm referring to. Part 1. No, it's not Bobbity. Bobbity's the first one. The second one's about science. Anyway, it's not relevant. The third one will get edited and come out next week if you're a member of the public. Check it out if you're a member. Part 1 and part 2. Anyway, 110, 111 people watching. Someone's obviously taken heed and shared the show. Massive thank you to all of you. Smash that share button. Very warm welcome to all of you who's just joined us. Please share the show if you've not done so already. We're having a nice little chit chat about the fun that it is to suddenly have an enemy in the camp of Flat Earth, and he's one of the biggest subscribed Flat Earthers there is. But he's out sending out the globe defending vibes to his audience, which is wonderful. And Tenth's told us all about how fantastic that is, which is nice.
No, the problem is even in QE's chat, they're not getting it. They're all lining up with Jaren, and they're all accusing us of infighting like we're the aggressors. We're just trying to wake people up. That's all. There is no getting it together and let's all have a happy Flat Earth family. Not with this crew.
As I remember it, we never sought this out. I don't think we ever did. Anybody go to them?
No, but we're getting blamed.
Yeah.
We're getting blamed for being the
Hold on,
bullies.
Neil. Yes, I did. I proactively
we
went
get called
yes.
scammers
Hold
and
on,
we're
hold
the
on,
bullies.
hold on.
That's good.
I can't leave that hanging out there. No, John, I proactively went to Globebusters to disseminate the truth of science, proving things and how it had been hijacked to make claims that simultaneously they had been utilising when they claimed that they got science for Aether with Michelson-Morley demonstrations and fibre optic gyros. So I also attempted to explain how fibre optic gyros with a claimed perceived 15 degrees an hour drift would be a second reference frame turning underneath stuff, which would cause planes to have shortened flight times. Now, that was a lot of information that now I can concisely summarise my visit to Globebusters with. Back then, it took 45 minutes, a lot of interruption, a lot of irritation from Bob particularly, because he didn't want to relinquish the magic trick that is saying you've got science when you haven't got any proof for anything. The exact same magic trick that was used to con us with non-proof, non-scientific method-based claims of proof with hypothesis, science, theory, all that crap. So no, it didn't go well when I proactively approached them, John, just to clarify, because you asked.
You
So
said
this
you
is
went.
all, but this is all pretty much derivative from that, then, isn't it?
Yes. So when Banter suggested that Jaren's deep-held aggression towards me might be as a direct consequence of the stress induced in Bob, which may have, according to Cami when she spoke to me, been a contributing factor to his death. Now that is a sad thing to hear. I have absolutely no guilt for disseminating the truth of science and will continue to do so in the face of this information being passed to me by a bereaved wife of a man who passed away amidst stress after watching my show daily. So that is what I've been told. Now, simultaneously, while Bob was watching the show daily, he was instructing his audience not to. Now that's a side issue. The point being that apparently that stress has a connecting link that you can put into the chain that was suggested by Banter was a contributing factor to Jaren's aggression towards me, which seems over the top. Well, maybe that is a reason. I don't know. If it is, if you want to blame me for Bob dying because I pointed out that he's not using the scientific method when claiming he's got proof, which would be afforded to him if he had used the scientific method, then I'm not going to have any guilt or sleepless nights over that. Now,
And with that, hold on. And with that being said, Nathan, to allude back to what you were saying, how you was very apparently exacerbated because I could hear it in your voice as well, and I was kind of frowning my face like, is this guy? You know, you got to think about your health as well, yours, as you are passionate about this, and as you go in. I don't know how many times you've been taken to this point, but that's not really good for you neither. We're getting older, so you don't need to be getting yourself hypertensive just because you're trying to prove something to a thickhead.
Okay, fine.
Something that you know is true. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
So.
Very few things will get my blood pressure actually raised to that level. But when it's somebody who's on our side, that I've rubbed shoulders with, that I've developed arguments with, that we've gone through the thick of it for years, he's one of the OG flat earthers. He's been around longer than I have in this subject. Not much longer, but longer. So therefore, at that point, you go, wow, after 8 years, I'm having to say, your Jaren argument for the globe doesn't work because X. Those words should never be crossing my lips. Is it not justified that I'm exasperated about that? Is that not justified? Don't concern yourself with my health. I'm fine. You don't. But by the same token, can you understand my exasperation over it?
Your purpose in going there was not to exasperate Bob. It had more to do with a Netflix movie that was released, wasn't it?
I wanted to do some damage control. Yeah. Well, I wanted to give a consolation prize. Okay. What you did for Netflix was essentially providing affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy with a false dichotomy. When it failed, in terms of the affirming the consequent you were hoping it would prove, they formulated the exact same affirming the consequent for a globe rather than for a flat earth pro-outcome that didn't give the drift. Okay, well, what Bob reacted that with, fine, was to say, no, the drifter did see that we weren't supposed to, because it was supposed to be proving we weren't spinning, was actually ether drift. Okay, so now we're in a false dichotomy between Earth turning and ether drift, with an affirming the consequent from a man-made device. Okay, no phenomena, nothing, not science, being claimed to be. That's the problem here I had to face. Obviously, if you're asserting that and defending yourself with ether drift rather than the 15 degrees an hour that you've shown, I wanted to point out that 15 degrees an hour, take it as read. If your opponent's saying it's Earth turning underneath the fixed frame of the gyro to show a perceived 15 degrees an hour drift because Earth's turning under the gyro, then Earth's turning under the gyro. Well, if Earth's turning under gyros, then planes are going to have their flight times reduced. Now that I wanted to give him as a consolation prize for his absolute shit show mess that he left for us on Netflix by claiming science for this and that. Bloody outrageous. I went with a hand out to say, no, I can help you through this shitstorm by showing you the fallacy that was employed by you and showing you how it isn't science and how they've hijacked science, in the same way you have, to claim proof where they haven't got it. Well, all that needs to be dealt with. Well, what I got back then, same as I've got now, is you are evil. How dare you tell me how science does prove things? I need to claim it proves this. Oh, okay, well, it doesn't. Sorry. What it does do is give them the opportunity to say that Earth's turning underneath your gyro. Really nails down their claim where we've struggled, because they start telling us about how things aren't drifting, giving us globiolus effect with as one reference frame, and Earth's not turning underneath, and we wouldn't expect to see anything. It's like now we've got something from you that the globers are prepared to stand by, where they say, look, 15 degrees an hour drift as Earth turns under the gyro. All right, so Earth's turning under gyros. Yeah, we're gonna see some effects of that now, aren't we? If Earth's turning underneath stuff like planes and helicopters and hot air balloons and gyros and pendulums. Yeah, we're gonna notice, but we don't. That's how you take the argument. That's what I wanted to pass on to Globebusters. Listen to the show. Listen to me talk to them.
Right. So you didn't go there. You're not the one that started this thing. You went there to try to offer help. Your hand was smacked away. And then they come seeking us. So like I said, who went to them? You did with the best of intentions, and now they come to us trying to start arguments.
Yeah, but those best of intentions took away their magic trick. I've done the same exact thing with Dave Weiss. I went to him, personally, privately, verbally, on a phone call, and started to tell him about the scientific method and how it proves things. Halfway through, he shut me down, told me he didn't want to hear it. From that point forward, the communication and the relationship and his endorsements all fell apart, and slowly it became a decry of us and a boycott of us and how evil we are. Why? Well, because like with Bob, I was taking away a magic trick that Dave Weiss has been out on the circuit for a considerable amount of time, utilising the scientific magic words he hasn't got the method for and doesn't understand. So Dave Weiss, recently in a series of texts back and forth, has also started to call me a scammer. It's a fact. While he brags about his boat and his money and all the people that are listening to him as a perceived leader of this community. Well, simultaneously, I'm telling him, no, we're going to still be having this conversation in years to come. It's never going to end. I'm not going to go away from this. Okay? Well, it didn't work out well for Bob. If it is actually, as Cammy has told me, a contributing factor, it ended up killing him, if that's to be believed. Well, do you want to go down the same path if you're Jaren or Dave? Are you going to really die on that hill? Not just figuratively? Because you want the magic trick to work? No, we can teach you shortcuts that are far easier than just lying about having science when you haven't got it. But we need to nip that in the bud. Like I needed to nip it in the bud with Bob. Now I need to nip it in the bud with Dave. He's that, forget Jaren. The biggest offender is Dave Weiss. He's out everywhere saying he's got scientific evidence for garbage that couldn't even go into the method. Concrete nouns half the time. I need to stamp that out. He's making us all look like frauds. Well, that's not going to go away. I've explained all of this. I've explained the scientific method to Dave. I've gone through it, half gone through it verbally. The rest of it I've gone through with him in text message. None of it's been taken on board. Same goes for Jaren with all the arguments that people like our friend New Moon came with. He came to say, why haven't you argued this point about the tangent on a globe when you're in front of Jaren? It's like, well, for the same reasons I told Jaren in our message exchange. I wanted to focus on hypothesis construction because he's calling me a scammer for saying science proves. So I'm going to focus on that. The fact that I let it slide is absolute nonsense garbage. Took me biting my tongue to not do so, to keep the focus. Now you're here doing it for him because you think he's right now because I didn't focus on it. Okay, well, let's rip that shit to shreds. Part 3 of my video will be out soon. I'm done. Shout out to Elvis Kafovic, sorry. Nathan, let's start that again. Get my eyes to focus. Elvis Kafovic says, Nathan, so why did his gyro drifted? Because it's faulty. Gyros don't drift. Thank you for the super chat.
But you're going to invoke a false dichotomy when you can make up any number of reasons why the gyro is drifting. Even if it's faulty is one of them. You could make up, say, photonic torsion as a bullshit reason. We don't know.
Who cares?
I can tell you too.
But the thing is, did the guy address the one topic about hypothesis construction? Did he challenge that while he was there?
Which guy? You have to be specific.
New Moon.
New Moon confirmed it. I asked him, through dragging him backwards through a hedge, to paraphrase back my description of hypothesis construction so that he could affirm the empirical outcome that is only possible in both the positive and negative. That is to say, he paraphrased back part 2 of the video that's out to members now. That would be Jarenism disciple humiliated, and then part 2, and then the actual title is Science. Well, in that, I've trimmed it out right at the beginning of the intro, him affirming that if you've got two sides of a hypothesis, through broken English, admittedly, you've got one side that's proven and one side that's disproven. So when he affirmed that back to me, after I paraphrased it to him, he was affirming that he understood how it disproves things. His claim, slightly different to Jaren's, but along the same lines, is science can't disprove anything. Okay? All it does is disprove or prove the hypothesis because it contains two outcomes, and both can't simultaneously be true. He affirmed it enough for me to trim it out and make it explicitly clear that he understood it to the audience listening to part 2. Check it out if you remember. Go ahead, John.
I'll tell you two things. It was
John.
Well, I was just wondering if I'm still trying to get my head around how they're not getting this. I mean, because it's pretty basic. It's stuff they were taught in elementary, middle school, high school. There's no way they've not been.
Pride. Same reason why he couldn't let go of the freaking Aether. It wasn't. I'll tell you two things. It wasn't. The drift wasn't caused by Earth's curves, and it wasn't Earth rotation, and it wasn't caused by the Aether. Okay. End the story. They can't let go of that. It's pride.
Affirming the consequent. Might as well break that down as well. But no, that's not. The point when we got to that point, or I got to that point with Bob on Globebusters, was to explain that step 1 would need to be in place for us to start doing the science of it and claiming it's science and proving Aether and proving drift. Step 1 is observe a natural phenomena. Well, in this instance, there isn't one. Like we explained with Whitsitt, he's more than happy now to confirm that there's no phenomena, but there might be, and we might be able to measure it in the future. But we've got a measurement, and do you not understand it's a measurement that we've definitely got? Okay. Yeah, it's not a naturally occurring phenomena. Therefore, there's no science to apply. Everything will be technology-based. Like I say, they want to call it science because they want it to prove Aether. Well, we need to stamp that out. I went there to explain how the scientific method worked, but at that point, I become the enemy. Like I'm currently the enemy of Dave Weiss, who's also calling me a scammer. Because suddenly I take away his magic trick. He says you can scientifically prove that its angular size is too small. No, you can't. That's just a total lie. It's fraud. Dave Weiss is a fraud. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I don't want to be associated with Dave making us look like frauds. Now, when he cut me off, was it because he wanted to have plausible deniability and ignorance? Don't care. Still making me look like a fraud. Especially when he says that me saying science does prove things, with his camp decrying me as a scammer, which makes everything I say look like it's legitimate, while Dave's out on the circuit claiming he can prove concrete nouns with science. Well, this is never going to end. Either I'm going to have a heart attack, as Neil thinks I'm going to, because people keep coming arguing for the globe on the Globebusters side. You're like, what's going on? Or Dave will actually grow a pair of balls, come here and be educated in science so he stops scamming people and making us all look like fraudsters.
Yeah, Dave Weiss has the most. Sorry, Dave Weiss has the most gall because he put his money on you in the ring. He put his money on you on the ring, and for him to do this, he's incentivized some type of other kind of way. Because for him to put money on you to gain money, which I think it was, because it couldn't have been to prove his point. Because if he would have went with this same rhetoric he's doing now, he would have been shredded alive by someone more keen than him on the globe side, or even on Jaren's side, who's an anti-flat earther that's like you, an anti-global like you, or a flat earther like you that would have came at him, they could have taken those Bitcoins because of his fallacy claims. That's what makes me sick about Dave Weiss, because I liked him at one time.
Well, don't be. He's still got the same exact catch as he always had. He's still got the same lovable personality, and he's good at communicating. He's got a lot of positive attributes, right? It's like Jaren. So, no, I haven't had people come here fighting for the globe on Dave's behalf with Dave's name. Hold on, I'm nearly done. And I'm still going to do the exact same thing. I've still got the same attitude towards Dave. I've told him so. This isn't going away. I am going to educate you in science, whether you like it or not. Now, if we have to use your name to do it with educational lessons in Dave Weiss's name, because of him out committing fraud, claiming he's got science when he hasn't, then so be it. I'll do that indefinitely. And they can bleat and moan about how I've put their faces on my thumbnails. Oh, well, come here and get educated about science, and then you can do a better job of fighting for flat Earth without taking these mystical shortcuts with lies and fraud about science. Don't need to. Got good arguments. Spent every single day of the last 8 years developing them.
Well, look what happened. You got
Just so I can clear this up. Sorry, Neil. Just so I can clear this up. So Dave Weiss is also in the camp of calling us scammers because we say science proves things, while simultaneously running around saying how he has scientific proof for things.
Not exactly.
Some of which are not
you
even
paraphrase that into a
scientific.
scenario that isn't strictly true. Whilst discussing with Dave when he'll be coming here to be educated in science, he didn't exactly decline. You know, when he told me he's got better things to do and he's on his boat. You know, he wasn't exactly declining, very, very wheezily. But ultimately, during an invitation to be educated on science, he called me a scammer. Not you, me.
When he says you, it's us. Okay, and look what's happening now. Now you got people declaring that Ether is God, air is Ether, and they're trying to correlate it with God. This needs to be stamped out continuously.
I'm trying to understand how. All due respect, man, but I'm trying to understand how these people don't see the doublespeak. How do you just jump on the bandwagon of calling somebody a scammer because they're saying science, simply saying that scientific method can be used to prove things and disprove things, and you're running around talking about you got science for shit?
I'm with you, Chocolate.
How does this?
I'm with you.
What the hell is going on?
I'll tell you why.
Hey, Chocolate. You know why? Because
prove anything.
Science. Yeah, in Dave's opinion, science proves everything that he claims it proves. But then when someone who's more adept to the knowledge of the scientific method proves him, considerably, not being disrespectful initially until he starts barking back, that no, that's not exactly scientifically provable, then instead of him saying science doesn't prove anything, he'd rather join the bandwagon of Jaren, who doesn't know jack about it, and say Nathan's a scammer because he's telling people that science proves everything.
Listen, the title is in that guy, what he said yesterday. He was Google searching the scientific method, and he's not coming up with A, B, C, D, or 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. He's coming up with the pseudoscience definition of the scientific method. And that's what's happening.
And how we can prove or disprove.
You're missing it, Chocolate. When there's a top rapper, right? Let's take it to rap. There's a top rapper, somebody wants to knock him down to become the top dog. Well, you're at the top of the sphere here. It's a sphere here. Not sphere, you got me saying it.
Neil, I hear you. But the problem is, what's got me fucked up is, how is it more stressful that somebody just wanted to come and have a conversation with you about science than it is that you're one of the people being now touted as proving the exact opposite side that you're on by the exact opposite side? How is it that it's more stressful to have this conversation with Nathan than you're the guy that's on Netflix proving a globe? I didn't know Bob like that.
I can answer that, Chocolate. Here's the possibilities. I don't know which.
Sorry.
Here's the possibilities. I don't know which one is going to be more true than the other. One is Jaren is a flat earther, but he's so angry because they got caught on the scientific method that they with their gyro and everything else, and Nathan tried to go help. We know the whole history. So because he's angry, he sides with Globers to offset his anger against FED and Nathan. So he goes there, and it's an ego pride trip, and he's still a flat earther, and it's just a pouty thing. Okay, that's one option. The other option is he is not really a flat earther, which is hard to accept, but let's just assume that's the second option. So now he's siding with the Globers. Now, the common denominator on both of those is he's siding with the Globers. What we don't know is what is the motivation. I think the motivation is we don't like Nathan, and if we have to side with Globers, we will. And now it's come back to bite him. So I think he does believe the earth is flat, but I think he's siding with Globers due to pride because he can't stand what Nathan showed Bob, him, Whitsitt, and David Weiss. That's my personal feeling.
And by the way, I think
that the enemy of my enemy is my friend, basically.
basically. You there, Adam?
And if I could, real quick, I want to allude to what Tenth just said and mix it with Neil. Neil always brings us up and we look over it. A power struggle. Think about it. What was the top channel out there when Bob was alive? One of the top ones was Globebusters. Okay. Bob passes away. Oh, Jarenism was another one. Jaren jumps on the Globebuster thing. I don't know when chronologically, but he to become unified, that strengthened his subs, of course, because now his subs are listening to Globe, and Globe
Jaren's been a
people listen to
Globebuster
Jaren.
forever, bro.
Jaren gave
Okay, but I'm saying
Globebuster.
he started it.
Rose. Jaren
Okay,
says he gave
stop.
Globebusters
Okay,
to
D
Bob.
Rose hasn't got the chronology correct. Doesn't matter. Just let him make his point anyway.
Okay, I said I don't know the chronology of how it happened, but nevertheless, they were together. Okay, they did something. Apparently, they were chosen by Netflix, or they put up the money to be able to convince Netflix, which is a pretty hard platform to put out a film. Even comedians like Monique will tell you that, they don't just let anybody do anything. There's got to be some type of profit out of it or some type of motive financially. So they make this Netflix thing. It fails on the side of what the proof of what this whole narrative was for this video. Everybody, he gets a lot of backlash from the viewers, the fellow flat earthers, the globers, laughing in his face, yada, yada, yada. And then Nathan on the other side, who's another formidable channel that's, coming through the obstacles and everything against all of the naysayers and the haters, exposes them highly and like unrestricted, like really tells them the truth, flat point. And he feels betrayed. So now Bob passes away. Then if Nathan heard about this, of course Jaren heard about this. Maybe that's what caused Bob to pass away. That doubles and triples his betrayal feeling and his just despite and vindictiveness against Nathan. So he's willing to risk what he came here for before the Netflix failure in order to knock Nathan, as Neil said, off the mountain and out of the picture so that they can continue to get back in where they were and they can put their feast of nonsense and whatever they want to put out while they make money and get subs. That's my opinion.
The credence that I'll give you on that is that for some reason or another, this seems a lot more personal from them than it has to be. Right? These reactions that we're getting from these guys that are quote unquote on our side, it just seems very personal. Seems
it is
like look at the 15-minute dialogue that Jaren had where he attacked Nathan, and then Nathan went straight into just the topic. Like, why does it seem so personal? And maybe it is. Maybe it is that. Maybe it is somehow or another they put the thing with Bob on us or on Nathan.
Nathan was saying,
you don't have any real argument.
It should have just been a conversation. Could have just squashed it. Yeah, this is not science. This is happening in the gyro. Okay, great. We can figure out what's going on in the gyro. It's not science. All right, dope. That should have been the end right there. That was all it had to be, and then we could have progressed. But it's been,
there is some positive, right? Hold on, Chocolate.
Let me just make sense. He wanted it to be a thing, to keep being a thing.
I want to talk to Chocolate for a sec. There was some positivity. I mean, it did take 4 years of banging the same drum, but now they don't call Mickelson Morley an experiment anymore. So that's something, right? That's positive.
yeah, that's progress. But like, it could have. Think about how much more progress it could have been if the conversation had just gone down like how you would think it should have gone, instead of just getting upset with you that you're telling them about science. I don't.
Because they took it personal.
The interest rate is a little high. What you're saying.
They took it personal. Nathan took it strictly to business. After that 15-minute use of Jaren downing the show on Nathan just stuck with the business at hand, the scientific method. You were like the Don, Nathan, like the Godfather. Nothing personal, strictly business.
It sounds like a pride issue to me. They were already eating crow with their gyros, and they couldn't take another serving.
That's right.
I love what Neil said, but I refuse to believe that the second serving was more stressful than the first. The first one is the one that everyone's running around parroting and saying, thanks, Bob, and this and that. Like, come on, man. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
I love what Neil said. That's my man. That's my Neil's my man. You the Don, Nathan. Now they gotta kiss the fucking ring.
No swearing, please.
Sorry.
No, but it was true. He came in personal, and Nathan came in strictly about business. And the business at hand was scientific method. He was trying to teach a knucklehead. Ain't gonna work.
I think you go to Master B. I posted an article on a patent to fix gyro drift. There's so many gyro drift correction articles when you Google it. The calibration, temperature issues, all kinds of stuff. So,
Yeah, Brian's been saying that for a while. They never calibrated it.
The point is to give you a fixed frame of reference. And, you know, we've recently had lots of documents from NASA detailing how you've got to treat Earth as a stationary, flat plane. Well, when you're referencing the horizon, you've got a nice visual idea of what the ground in front of you is doing. Obviously, if it's tilted on one side, you can assume your plane's on one side. Well, if you're in thick fog, you need a gyro that has got a fixed reference to the ground. So when you're at the airport, it used to be the case that they'd spin up the old mechanical gyros, get them fixed in space, so that as you move around, the cage itself is moving around the fixed spinning gyro, and that'll give you a representation of what the horizon's doing. In other words, what level is. So you can re-level your plane. Well, that entire principle is defied if the thing's drifting. I remember 10th sending me a picture of an old shit stack of old crapped out mechanical gyros on a shelf. Well, what makes them old and crapped out? Well, because they don't work properly anymore. What is working properly? Well, maintaining rigidity in space. So you can reference what you're doing with reference to it. No good if it drifts. But here we are claiming that it drifts. Well, what's the affirming the consequent the globe use? If the Earth is turning as a second non-inertial turning reference frame, then we will observe 15 degrees an hour of drift as Earth turns underneath a gyroscope. We do observe 15 degrees an hour of drift as Earth turns underneath the gyroscope. Therefore, Earth is turning. That's an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. Repurposed by Bob after he showed 15 degrees an hour drift in his fibre optic gyro, as if we have ether, we will observe it drifting at 15 degrees an hour in the gyroscope. We do observe ether drifting at 15 degrees an hour in the gyroscope, therefore we have ether. It's the exact same form in the affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. Identical. No difference. One says ether, the other says earth turn. Like I said earlier, my focus was to say, if you just take it as read, that we have a stone cold claim that Earth is turning underneath, then you can point out all the consequences of Earth turning underneath. But you've got to accept that they say what you proved is Earth turning under the gyro. Don't just turn it into ether, because you've still got to use the exact same fallacy to claim it.
Right, if only they had any kind of observation, any kind of phenomenon with this ether that wasn't derived from a man-made device, now that could be interesting. But they don't. So it's all pointless. They can't show it without some magical gadget made by man.
Had they taken that advice and used that stone cold claim of Earth turning underneath, it would have been powerful for the flat Earth. We could have pointed all of this out, man. I don't see why they didn't. I guess it was just pride. I don't know.
Just a point of note in case any jabs come our way from me overtly calling Jaren and his cronies a cult. Just wanted to point out at this stage, so it's on record, that Whitsitt claimed that about us first. On his last visit, Whitsitt overtly told us that we are a cult. Just want to point that out, in case it comes back our way. Like, oh, you're so unreasonable claiming it's a cult. No, Whitsitt claimed we're in a cult. It's projection, because that's what it actually is for them. They are actually a cult. I'm going to take that back. I'm not rescinding that, by the way. Just saying that the first blow in that regard, that word was used by Whitsitt when he projected the cult-like behavior of them and their ether crowd onto us. Just want to point that out.
Yeah, that he definitely did. And they've been saying that we're a cult, and anybody who argues like us is a cult. We're stopping the human advancement of real meaningful conversation and
by
intellectual
destroying the
honesty.
globe.
Yeah,
And,
like,
I'd like
Ron, he's not
to.
finished.
What's the real meaningful advancement
He
exactly?
said I wasn't fucking finished, Arwood.
Oh, I'm
no
sorry.
swearing, please. Go ahead, Eli.
And again, I mean, I lost the idea because, it's not like I wrote this down.
That's fair enough. Crack's a
I had,
powerful drug.
I mean, again, this just goes back to all of the warnings from ancient history until now. Please don't fall for people with claiming truthhoods and all of these these people claiming that they're smart and they know this and they know that, and it's all just false teachings, false everything, because there's no proof. Like I don't care what you imagine, fam. Like how could you bring people down because you're holding up an imagination?
Now he's done.
Yeah, that sucked, but it would have been better if y'all had let me do it first time.
The thing is,
I'm upset.
Just one more thing, Eli. What is it that they said that we're suppressing or holding back the what?
Yeah, that was
Well, okay, specifically, your name is not Eli.
Sorry,
Yes,
that
I
was me.
was specifically asking Eli to parrot off what he said. They say we are holding back.
Well, specifically, when I'll give you an example.
No,
one
just,
of the times.
Well, no, don't, because I've got something to say after it. What do they say we're holding back?
An intellectually honest dialogue between the Globers when we use this robotic way of telling them they can't affirm the consequent and no begging the question. We stop the advancement.
Sorry to interrupt, Eli. Sorry to interrupt. What I was hoping you'd go on to is us holding back the discoveries in respect to Aether and such like. We're holding back the
human
discoveries
advancement.
Who's interrupting?
They never
Who's doing
overtly
that?
said that, but that's what they mean.
Okay, well, that was the most useless segue ever. But thank you. So what I was going to say was, what we have actually achieved is a prevention of them saying we're preventing the scientific discoveries of Aether, because that's what they would be saying.
Maybe that's their whole point.
Yeah, that's very cool. So what's the exact naturally occurring phenomenon again?
He didn't say it was science, not science. But what are we stopping? Guys coming in and saying that as the Ether and Ether is God? Come on.
Apparently, we should be letting Globers beg the question all day. Is that what I'm getting, Eli? We should allow that conversation to just go on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let the Glober win.
If you listen,
win what?
Because the earthers don't tear your arms out of your socket when they lose. Get it?
But it's not about letting a Glober win. It's about not utilizing the tools we have, which is calling out logical fallacies, calling out when something isn't a method, but it's prancing around as a method. That's what's being called to stand down on.
Yeah, but did you hear what Whitsitt referred to it as when he was having that, whatever you want to call it, with Brian? When Brian was holding him to task and saying, I want to show me proof of FED shutting down, because we gave you, Nathan the other day gave you 5 minutes uninterrupted. And he says, it said something to the effect of, what do you want me to pull out a million hours of useless dialogue. That's what they consider what we talk about here. Useless dialogue.
Or projection horse shit. I mean, they have useless dialogue. It's so freaking useless. I literally fall asleep if I try to follow what they're talking for longer than 2 minutes.
It. Let's all just agree to disagree about the useless dialogue.
Yeah, we don't have useless dialogue. Because somebody will then start yelling at the other person for it being useless dialogue. That's what happens here. That doesn't happen over there, because there they have to agree to disagree and not criticize each other. Even though their ideas are directly in opposition with one another.
Well, I think we've all agreed to disagree, so we can move on.
No.
But they
I
say
will
that's
not
what we do.
agree to disagree.
Our dialogue makes the Globers literally decapitate themselves every time they open their mouth. And that's useless.
Yeah, we make them stutter.
Like, have they been listening? What the fuck what are you saying?
That's what I'm saying. Listen,
I don't understand.
Brian
Every time a Glover shows up here, they shoot themselves in the face with whatever argument they got.
From our useless dialogue, right?
So I don't know.
Glober doesn't make Glober stutter. We make Glober stutter. That's the difference.
The Carly guy was the last Glober, wasn't he? Just clear my throat. Hold on. He came and his argument was to ask us how an elevation angle measurement at its minimum, that's the equator measurement of Polaris, could work on a flat Earth. So within 25 seconds of his argument starting, the response was, "You'll need a flat Earth for that elevation angle measurement to Polaris." So literally his first foray into trying to prove a globe, or in this instance, show how it can't be flat, proved it was flat within 25 seconds.
Nice.
And that's what I mean. So again, that's useless dialogue. We should just sit here and let him tell us all about how it's done on the globe, which I think that was the same guy you were asking. Tell us how it's done on the globe. And he was just like, but like, no, I really can't. Is that the same guy?
No, because you'd need a flat plane for it, and he knew it by that point.
Given to prove that the Earth is flat, according to its...
It's like those memes that say, tell us how it's a globe without telling us how it's a globe. Or no, tell them that's backwards. Tell us how it's a flat plane without telling us how it's a flat plane.
Well, if you listen to Jaren after the show, after Nathan tried to educate him, it bothers him that he hears people saying, "You're going to need a flat Earth for that." That really bothers him when he hears other channels, people parroting the arguments that they hear here.
Yeah.
That bothers him.
Jealous. He's a jealous, envious 12-year-old girl.
It bothers him that the globe that he's allowing these people to assume requires a flat plane for it to even exist. That bothers him.
It bothers him because he don't understand it. That's what it is.
Are we serious? This is getting worse every time I listen more closely. This is crazy.
Let's just agree Jaren sucks.
I've been saying that for the longest time.
Well, there's always hope for Dave
Out a
Weiss.
flat earther, and hopefully he won't end a flat earther, because I don't want him around anymore. As in, go do something else. Go back to your other conspiracy theory stuff that you think is so cool. That just go do that again.
Talk about NASA.
Whatever. Do NASA, fake moon. I don't care. Just don't mention flat Earth. Don't get involved. Just get out.
Just for a slight segue on that, I've been looking at some of the reactions of like not flat earthers, normies to this India moon landing. Oh my God. There's nobody that believes that shit. Everybody, like people who believe like they landed on the moon were like, what the hell is this?
What the graphics have upped from like 60s level graphics to Atari graphics now. What's the problem?
They upped to
Only flat earthers think it's true.
More
think
like
it's real video.
ColecoVision. You know about ColecoVision.
That was what Flat Earther was telling us. He was saying over in India, when the Flat Earth versus Globe Earth argument kicks off, and Flat Earthers say, look at your joke footage that's being put out to claim you've landed on the moon. The Indian anti-Flat Earthers, let's call them, say, only you Flat Earthers think that's real footage. Now, we had the exact same thing when Starman went out on his Tesla, and we're like, oi, Globehead, check out this footage of Starman. They're like, don't be stupid. Only you think that's claiming to be real.
Yep, I've had that very conversation.
Me too.
Like, no. You think this is real.
Yeah, it's one of those weird conversations. No, I'm telling you it is fake. You're telling me I'm trying to convince you it's real. No, I'm not trying to convince you it's real. I'm trying to point out how fake it is, and you're telling me that you know already how fake it is, but you wouldn't profess to think it is real. Like, what? No, you do think it's real. They're telling you there really is a Tesla out in space, and here's the footage of it. You're supposed to believe it, so I can fight against it. Don't just tell me that you don't believe it either, but you wouldn't expect to be believing it. It's like you're making your own apologies for the crap video that is supposed to be professing to be out in space. You're supposed to believe it.
That's the point where they start gaslighting themselves, right? They start to like, no, don't argue your point. I'm just going to give you your point, so you stop bothering me about this, and I can get back to believing like it's real again.
Honestly, it was one of the weirdest flat Earth conversations that I've ever had, because now this thing is, I think, for what I remember, it was on the front of the newspaper. Like, I had people coming up to me with this thing, like, look at this. And I'm like, yeah, what do you feel about that? And they're like, nah, this can't be. Like, yep, they're telling you that's real. That's what you believe. People who all you guys think I'm nuts. You guys all believe that's what's up.
That's tomorrow's video, and I posted it already in Master P. If you want to have a flavor of it, the Indian moon thing. I mean, it's amazing.
Oh yes.
No, it's in Master P now. If you just want to show the guy with the blue screen behind him, it's great at the beginning.
Yeah, so the normies making fun of it. I had a good old time watching a few videos with normies just all over it.
From now, today at just past 6 p.m., the Vikram lander is going to come softly and touch down on the surface of our moon. 25 hours to go. The lander is currently 25 kilometers in orbit around the moon and is scouting for that precise landing location.
So is Spain on the way to the moon as well, then?
In fact, ISRO just sent us the latest images that have been captured by the lander's cameras. Here's the latest from what we know.
You said from the cameras, right?
Yeah.
India's moon mission is hours away from a historic climax.
We'll cover this tomorrow.
Yep.
Tomorrow.
Happy
Saturday.
Friday.
All right, next Monday.
Got ball busters.
On ball busters. What he means.
Oh no, we're not covering that.
Why not,
John? You don't want to cover the fantastic India moon landing. Come on, man.
Yeah, man, they have stunning new pictures.
It is a stunning achievement for humanity.
Chocolate, I got news for you.
I'm sorry.
I got news for you, Chocolate. 21 hours ago, this was posted. After moon, India targets the sun.
Wow. Are they going to go at night?
Can I cover it on Globebusters? I'll tell you in advance what I'm going to do. So you can put up a picture that's claimed to be a photograph from the landing itself. And I'll just say, can't have gas pressure without a container. If the sky was a vacuum, then the gas we breathe would fill the space. And that'll be our covering of the moon landing.
That's fantastic.
Hey, guys.
What's up, Roto?
Can you call me Czar? Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, I've got some kill, and I just wanted to throw this out there. I want to get some opinions on this because I think it's interesting. But
I think your ass looks big in it. I'll be honest.
Think about it. Okay, I know, but it's because my ass is big. It's not the pants. Now, here's the deal. It's
refraction.
You bring it back down to earth here. We bring it back down to earth from the moon, but this is about plumb bobs. And I've been running around with this plumb bob topic, talking to different people about it. But here's my point. It's a simple question. Where do plumb bobs point? Where do they point? Now,
just ask him.
What's that?
Ask him.
What's that, Nathan?
Ask Bob which way he's pointing. Hey, oi, Plumb Bob, what way are you pointing? You said you've been running around with this guy called Plumb Bob.
Well, see, now what you'll hear is to the center of the earth. Now, here's what the deal is. The center of the earth's an interesting place for a plumb bob to point. One plumb bob is interesting. That's fine. But when you start putting plumb bobs in relation to one another, okay? Now, first of all, you're outside the realm of plumb at this point. You're in divergency. The globe, the sphere with a absolute radius, which is claimed, must have a divergency formula to the plumbs, right? Because here's the thing that when you start asking the globers where they point, they get rattled about it because they can't tell you straight up. Because when you say, well, do they point to the exact center? Because they must at all times necessarily point to the exact center. And I'm talking about quarter size center for a uniform divergency, which is a mess to begin with, but even for the divergency of plumbs to be uniform, they must point to an exact center. So I say, how big is this exact center? And then they start throwing out like 16 miles. Is 16 miles of tolerance. So basically what we're saying here is there's randomness to the plumb bobs where they point. One will point over here, one will point over there with a tolerance. See, they can't even fashion. So when they talk about divergency with navigation at these they'll give you exact degrees of the divergency. But when you drop plumb bobs and then you ask them how they get their divergencies, all the divergencies must match, right? But when you really put the rubber to the road with the question, where do these things point? It's a pretty fundamental question, isn't it?
Yeah, they've got
Where
an
are all
answer.
these
They
things
say,
pointing
do
at?
you want to know their answer? They say reciprocating zenith angles.
Well, the point is it an exact center point or not? Because as soon as you start widening that center point out where they're supposed to point, then you're getting a tolerance. Like one plumb bob's pointing to the edge.
Hey, do you want to know how they deal with it?
Of this
They deal
one
with
plumb
this.
bob's
Okay.
pointing.
The way they deal with this is with tangent planes. Roto. So what they're doing is they're saying everything will still have plumb to the plane along that plane, which can extend out however large they need it to be. In other words, they'll deal with a whole great big flat reference area, and plumb will always be plumb along that. That's where you take the argument to disco ball Earth. It's been a while since we've done this. But yeah, that's where you end up with disco ball Earth, like lots of tangent planes all stuck to a sphere. But on each tangent plane each plumb would be plumb with horizontal for that plane.
Yes, sir. But here's the deal. As soon as you put 2 points on there, let's say you have 10,000 plumb bobs hanging, 10,000 didgeridoos. You got 10,000 of them hanging. First of all, they're going to be parallel one to another, top to bottom. Over any distance, any height, they're going to be parallel. But in the globe world, they must diverge. And they must have a formula, same as water.
Correct.
Curvature must have a formula. When do we start seeing curvature on the surface of water? At what body size do we start seeing curvature? There must be a formula that they have to adhere to.
We don't, but your first,
of plumb bobs.
We don't, but your first statement was correct. So yes, we would have to see a deviation. If their assertions of everything moving to the center of a sphere Earth is true, then one plumb will never be the same as another, no matter how close it is.
Imagine believing that thousands of miles. Imagine believing that thousands of miles underneath your feet, there exists a plumb bob that's pointing up towards your feet. That's what you have to imagine.
True.
If you think you live on a magical spinning.
Imagine this tiny quarter-sized exact center that plumb bobs are hanging right now today as we speak. Lots of them hanging right now. Things are going up today. So people are counting on them to be reliable. Now, if you're you can't even apply a formula because they're randomly pointing, not to the center, randomly around the center. It had to be an exact quarter-size center to get an exact formula of plumb bob divergency one to another. But they can't even give you that. So I ask, how much tolerance, how much wiggle room do these plumb bobs randomly point? Now they're coming up with things like it's about 16 miles in the center. Now, even at 16 miles of a center core, you're looking at a very powerful little nugget down there that pulls all plums to it. It's pulling so much stuff to it it's mighty. It would have to be mighty to pull to the exact center. It's the center point that I'm focusing on, where they're pointing, and it's when you start putting multiple plumb bobs down, right? They have to account for where are these things pointing to. It'd be one thing if we never used them for anything, but just as a physical nature of things, a weighted string is going somewhere. They're all zeros. They're all perfect verts, right? And the reality is they're parallel, every single one of them. But the globe has some splaining to do about where they're pointing. They must say it points somewhere. Obviously, they are. Where are they pointing? But when they wiggle at the answers, what's funny. It is painful.
Sorry, man. It sounds painful to have to explain how every plumb bob that should not be parallel to each other are. That sounds like a painful thing.
No, you guys didn't know.
Didn't know what?
So what?
That plumb line's a curve.
Nah.
Shout out to Heretics and 24/7. I'm about to post in the chat right now.
This is the same principle of rocking the sextant to get the zenith, the plumb bob, 90-degree position of the sun over the horizon. The same principle here. You need a horizontal and a vertical for that perpendicular.
See, in the globe,
No, but that's not the key.
you'd never expect plumb bobs to point directly to the center because you have a disparate mass in the substrate, right? And since mass localized is there alleged to cause the gravitational vector, and since you have disparate mass, there'd never be concentric circles or concentric radials. Not to mention that the axis of rotation is not the same as the center of gravity. So the center of the axis of rotation is around the axis, which changes obliquely from the center as you move away from it, from the center of gravity. So the plumb bobs, like above the equator and below the equator, wouldn't be pointing towards the center because they'd have to combine the vectors of the centrifugal force and the gravity. So in the globe model, allegedly, there is no pointing to the center. So there is no ideal radial formula they can use. They have to throw in a margin of error. And then they use this stupid formula to tell you that the horizontal narrow bridge towers are 1 5/8 out. So look how inconsistent it is.
That's a joke.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent right there. And the fact that they have to account for something, I think it's just kind of an unexplored room that is worth mentioning, because it brings it down to the core of it all. Instead of, it's hard to get them to say that, like star positioning on the ground, that those zeniths are parallel. But the divergence continues outward to the celestial, correct, in that world. So because the stars would surround the sphere in that world. But so the difference between the plane and the sphere is the divergencies or the parallels, depending on which viewpoint you're looking at. So what we always will see are the parallels. We will never observe these divergencies. So the plane has that on its side, observance or lack thereof of what's claimed, which is divergency. So these plumb lines are showing something. But when you break that down to where do these plumb lines point below the ground, it's easy when it's a plane because they're pointing straight down as they appear, and they're parallel as they appear, top to bottom. However, you would have to explain in formula and exact divergencies to be using plumb bobs as a tool to begin with. Because if you're using divergent plumb bobs, they would have to be a reliable formula if you're going to correct the divergency into parallel to build off of. If they're random one to another, there's
The black swan destroyed all this already. We don't have a curved surface. You have to assume one. Then the black swan destroyed Earth curvature, geometric horizon.
Correct.
So it's over. I mean, why take all this long-winded way?
Even given that, okay, the plumb bob divergence only needs to be beyond tolerances on a local level.
Your line's terrible. I don't know what's wrong. AI.
Yeah. I'm terrible? Right.
Yes.
The line is terrible, not you.
Yeah, just look at the, I don't know if you posted it on screen, but just look at the graphic.
Okay. What screen? What graphic? What's your point?
That they're not going to a center point like they claim. But they don't claim because this is their model. Well, their diagram.
Is that the one in Master B?
Yes.
Yeah, I got it up now. I bet you didn't expect that to be the conversation killer it was, Eli.
I mean, well, I don't think you guys. I mean, I don't think you guys understand. Well,
careful.
You guys aren't commenting on it. I don't either. It's not that remarkable, or you guys don't understand the conversation we just had for 15 minutes.
I listened.
And
I
then
understood
this
entirely.
like straight
and
up
then I put the
debunking
diagram
that.
up, which affirmed it. I totally understand. The fact that everyone else has probably gone to get a brew, that may be the cause of no one responding to it. I'll respond.
I'm back.
Good
I
point,
can't even
Eli.
find a diagram.
Good point. Thank you, Eli.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I took this nonsense apart. Adam even saw the slides. from Jesse Kozlowski and Larry Scott, two claimed, and Blue Marble Science. But the first two are two claimed geodetic surveyors. And I took apart exactly what they did. The trickery, the mathematical trickery they got up to claim they had measured divergence as zeniths. They placed themselves, now they didn't do any of this, it's all maths, but they made a claim that they had gone out in the field and done this, where Jesse Kozlowski placed himself on top of a hill that was like 1,000 feet high or something like that. And Larry Scott was around 11 miles away. But what they actually did, I don't have it all from memory now, but what they actually did was they have to, the only way they can show, they can mathematically do this is to have one person at a different elevation from the other. And they basically they have to use the same horizontal baseline. And they're using angles. So it would be Larry Scott's angle up to Jesse Kozlowski, and Jesse Kozlowski's angle down to Larry Scott. And I went in and showed through Metabunk. I used Metabunk because Metabunk have this little angular size or angle portion. I can't remember what way the Bitquest terms it. And I showed through them that exactly what they were claiming meant that they had to have the same horizontal baseline to do what they were doing. It was I can't remember all the details because I'd have to look back at the video. I'd have to look at the slides. But basically, it was an elevation angle and a depression angle. And they messed with them in such a way where they could cause a divergence between the two zeniths. But they also, and I sent it to Adam, and Adam spotted it immediately. They also had to use a radius that was like 2,500 miles around that, as opposed to 3,959. Because they had to use a radius that was smaller than the actual claimed globe radius to fulfill this trickery.
Why did it have to be smaller?
For them to do it, I don't have the slides down, but for them to do what they needed to do, they had to use a smaller globe.
I mean, I don't disbelieve you. I assume Adam back-engineered the maths that they'd used to get to that value, but I'm not clear as to why they would have to do that. Was it like a not very clear day, or I don't get why they'd have to reduce the size?
I think it was because they had to. I'm trying to remember now. It was to do with the way they measured the angles and the fact that they needed to use the same horizontal baseline. So Larry Scott's angle to Jesse Kozlowski had to be an elevation angle. That meant the baseline between Larry Scott and the bottom of the hill had to be horizontal. The same for Kozlowski. His angle to Larry Scott had to be a depression angle. So the two of them were basically measuring the same angles, opposing each other. And they said that they tried to say they came up with more than 180, right? But they couldn't. But I showed, my memory is not with me at the moment. They could only have come up with 180, and I showed mathematically using Metabunk how they only come up with 180. And a little bit of trickery they did, and I showed what they did, a back engineering they did. I just can't remember. My brain won't work. But they did have to use a smaller globe.
Okay.
But it was pathetic.
I mean, I'm not going to major on the minors. The main point is they're using a depression and elevation angle measurement off a flat baseline in both instances. In other words, it's a glorified version of the Earth curve calculation, which also uses the differential between eye level and sea level. So they're just doing the same trick as would be appropriate. You've then gone to the Metabunk calculator to say, look, this is how you're using this depression angle. And you're going to need a flat Earth for it, is the overarching point, right? Not I was just intrigued as to why they'd have to shrink the globe, but that's an aside point as to the main point that they're going to need a flat Earth for that, right? And as I said at the beginning of the show, John, yeah, we always knew that Brian had got there 2 weeks earlier.
It's funny how that's become bad to say, right? You're going to need a flat Earth for that. Same way it was bad to say, welcome to flat Earth after the Black Swan. Kind of funny how both those had the same effect. Maybe it's because both of those came from us. Sorry, Brian. I didn't mean to cut you off. Just had a funny thought.
No, there's not less to add to it. It was pure trickery, and that's what it was. Pure fraud, absolute fraud. And I mean, the Blue Marble Science tried to he tried to basically insult his way out of the problem. You know what I mean? It's like the guy is a total fraud, and so is Kozlowski and Scott. Because how I know they're frauds is because I know Kozlowski and Scott are frauds because they've already proven they were frauds prior to that. But they're surveyors. They know what they're doing, and they know how fraudulent that is. But Blue Marble Science is a retired engineer, so there's no way that he was duped by them. He was also involved in the fraud. So when he made a video and promoted what they did, he knew that it was fraudulent. He knew it was.
He's a retired engineer that requested for a citation that an open container is a container. What was he engineering? Let me stay away from all that.
I had a funnier take on it. You know, they were two bravado, macho guys declared married to beautiful women, caught with their pants down, one standing behind the other. That's basically what that was. That was a big exposure right there.
That was very
huge
graphic.
Exposure.
No need. That was too graphic.
Hey, I tell you, I use my metaphors.
Can we leave the Brokeback Mountain metaphors?
Think of Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant.
It got worse.
That was intentional. Just by trying to expose, saying that was too graphic. I wanted to make it more graphic.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Both of them got sombreros on.
So now that you've done a great job of disseminating some flat Earth truth and globe debunking, Brian, can we handbags at dawn and gossip a little bit about what Adam played to us yesterday? Were you here for that?
Oh, yeah. If you want, but I just think that if you want, I don't see I don't know about that much about all that. But it seems to me that people are out there having a problem with other people, calling out their tricks and their grifts.
Yeah, it's just because you didn't make it to air. We didn't record it when Adam played it yesterday. I did see the parallels. Obviously, there's people who've got a slightly higher level of standard of evidence over in the Tartaria, or the Tartaria corner of this internet that we're on YouTube, and the higher standard people pointing out where the lower standard people are just bullshitting has ended up with the exact same thing, them being chastised out of the group, and them moaning about how they're basically just detrimental to the grift. Just nice parallels, that was all.
Well, happened at some point last night on my YouTube feed. Whitsit turned up, and he was doing a live show. And his live show was about the Maui fires. And he had almost 700 viewers. It's like, you can have 700 viewers if you're willing to speculate on stuff like that. You know what I mean? If you're willing to speculate on it and, direct energy weapons and all this other nonsense. So if you're willing to speculate and basically tickle people's conspiracy bone, you can have 700 live viewers.
Freaking lasers, man.
Yeah. It's like, you know, whatever went on there, I don't know, and it's very likely was corrupt. I don't know. I don't look into it at all. The point is that if you're willing to get into those topics, because that to me is the same thing as Tartaria. It's more recent, but it's the same thing. So if you're willing to get into that conspiracy stuff, and you're willing to do conspiracy shows like that,
You name them.
you will have 700 live viewers.
You name them. These are, they're not on the Feast of Nonsense table. They're like, describe them in that analogy. It'd be like the hors d'oeuvres that the waiters are walking around with just before you get to the Feast of Nonsense, right? They're not necessarily related to flat Earth and globe Earth. They're just periphery subjects. So from the top, from when I got here, add any that I've forgotten, okay? We've got reptilians, Mandela effect, clone centers, Project Bluebeam. No forests on flat Earth.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
We've got some more. There's more. Aether would probably slip in there somewhere, either before or after no forests. So Aether, electro universe, basically.
There are no mountains. They're all trees.
These are all the periphery to the Feast of Nonsense, right? All these subjects. And then further to that, you end up with what we've got now, which is we've still got Mandela effect hanging around. Clone centers have stopped. So have the reptilians. Those people have all faded into obscurity. I don't know why Mandela. Maybe it was because it was the most annoying one that hung around. Now we've got this, right? What are we on to now?
Tupac is alive
more directed
again.
energy weapons. Directed energy weapons, right? Just garbage for you to talk about, be conspiratorial about, speculate about. They love it.
Are you saying you deny nuclear weapons, Nathan?
Aliens from space is mainstream. It's not really us. I'm talking about on the periphery of the conspiracy. So you get here. First thing I got here, and I was like, reptilians? What? Now, I'd just come off the back of studying psychopaths and subliminal messages. I'm like, reptilians just seems like a metaphor for psychopaths. If you're saying all the people in control are actually, literally, reptiles, well, no. If you're talking about the reptilian cortex and how people can feed off those base instincts and have no empathy, well, then, yeah, it's just a metaphor. But people are literally... Morgul's going to hate this because he was one of them. Sorry, Morgul. You know what you did. But yeah, the Mandela effect and clone centers and people thinking that Taylor Swift was a clone, and, you know, then you into the transgender, agenda, all that stuff. That was all in there. There's all sorts of these stupid conspiratorial garbage subjects that they just toss in for you to speculate about. Next thing you know, some flat earther that's given themselves credibility is talking about the size of people's skulls and how broad their shoulders are and their gait is and things like that. You're like, whoa, what's going on? Why are you destroying your credibility? Stop!
COVID was a great example of that, because all the conspiratorial flat earthers ran at the conspiracies. And even if some of them turned out to be correct at the time, all they did was show everyone up, or show themselves up as being conspirators and getting themselves banned off of YouTube. So lots of flat earthers who are on YouTube are not on YouTube anymore. So the amount of flat earthers who are available on YouTube decreased dramatically during that time because they kept on losing their channels.
Yeah, because they broke one golden rule. Do you know the golden rule they broke? Right. When it comes to stuff
you're
like
not
that,
allowed,
conspiracies.
You're not allowed to talk about the current magic trick.
Exactly, Brian. You're epic. Don't talk about the current magic trick. So if it's a short magic trick, there's a good chance by the time you're talking about it, it's all done and dusted, and you can get away with it. Like baby truther subject matter, like JLB describes it, like baby truths, you know, news fakery and things like that. Well, yeah, there's a good chance that is going to be a short thing in the newspapers one day, out the next. COVID weren't like that. It was a long-term magic trick. And they wanted to speculate about it not being real afterwards. They've already done that. That's also been and gone now, hasn't it? Them speculating and putting the fear of God in people that it might not be real. It's like, no, you can't cast that magic trick before we do. We're going to be using that later. Getting people to question whether or not they had done the right thing when they went and got the jibby jabs. That's what the government have been doing when they present all those statistics on the news. So the fear porn continues. But we're not allowed to utilise those magic tricks, especially while they're... You're not supposed to highlight the magic trick while it's being conjured. Don't point out the big sleeve on the magician while he's on stage. You'll get kicked out of the theatre.
I have to say it. Anthony Riley was one of them. He lost his channel because of some nonsense like that, some conspiracy nonsense. He had thousands and he lost his whole channel.
It was easy for us, though, because we always had stuck to the same narrative. We don't want to talk about these fringe subjects. We don't want to talk about reptilians or Mandela effect. It'll occasionally come up because somebody's forced it into the arena that we're in, and you then have to kind of address it. Or sometimes you'll just get somebody on like Paula to just give a nice, concise summary in one show of what Mandela effect really is and the misconceptions that have been portrayed into our alternative conspiracy truth realm. Well, those are the exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, we don't want to talk about that. All right, there's something going on in the media now. Don't care. Don't want to talk about it. Yes, I've got opinions about it. I'm not going to talk about them here. We're here to prove Earth's flat and how you've been lied to about a globe. That's our primary focus. Because we stuck to that, we didn't get wiped off the YouTube.
Yeah, I remember you telling Anthony, stop talking about that. And he didn't listen. And then he lost his channel.
Yeah, like I say, loads of people did. And on the one hand, you can understand their passion for it. But, you know, that's why it was such an effective magic trick on the entire world. And yeah, your average little YouTube truth is not going to have any effect. Isn't going to be a tolerate. It's an example of censorship where I've always professed that we won't be able to be censored out of existence because a lot of the primary basis for globe Earth rhetoric is based on flat Earth, like we're talking about at the moment. All roads lead to a flat Earth, which that kind of gives us some, not much, inherent security. Well, that's very different to whatever the current narrative is being spun out in the news about a war that's going on or some disease that's being spread. Those sorts of narratives, you just mess with them because they can censor you out of existence, and they did. Oh no, you cannot talk about this. We will not let you. Oh, you're going to do it anyway. Bye-bye. You're gone. That's it. No second chances. Bye-bye. Now, people didn't realise at first. And then they watched a couple of their favourite YouTubers vanish. They didn't take heed. It's like, all you had to do is read the YouTube terms of service, which have subsequently changed. When the magic trick altered, because the mainstream were going to be doing what they'd just been literally eating people off YouTube for, they changed the rules, and suddenly, a day later, well, hold on, if I'd have said this today, I wouldn't have got yeeted. Yeah, that's right. The magic trick is ebbing and flowing and changing, and you're not supposed to be messing with it. What are you doing?
And they're just reamping it up. Sorry, John.
You know what I think that's kind of funny? I've been hearing JLB's name. You know, remember? Gotta have a JLB if you want to be with me. But anyway, you are always kind of partial to JLB. Is he still on the stars are spinning in different directions and it's mysterious and he doesn't know why?
I drop that into his comments now and again.
It's mysterious.
I like his brand of upfront act realm conspiratard nonsense because he's very upfront about it, and the way he gets around the censorship also amuses me. So when he's covering, he can cover. This is what I like about JLB. He can cover the magic tricks that are current because he's got a very subtle way of doing it. The way he does it is just by an very, very minor alteration in his timbre and tone. But what he does is he delivers the mainstream rhetoric narrative over the top of whatever bullshit he's covering, but with a slight slight like upturn of the voice in the right moments. So this is a real bomb that's gone off on this news feed, is how he presents it. You know what I mean? He's doing it in such a way that on the surface level, the words that are actually being used aren't above the censor. You know, they're fine. No worries. Yeah, they pass. but the tone and delivery is something else, right? Well, that's a subtle trick that maybe I could do it. I haven't tried, but JLB can certainly do it, and that just brings a smile to my face. He's getting away with it. Why? Because he's thought about how he can present it to get around the rules. Presumably, he's just read the terms of service, sees precisely what he can't do, doesn't do that, but still achieves the same outcome with just a sarcastic tone in his voice. Epic. I think that's great.
Is he still on YouTube?
Yeah. He's put most of his stuff behind a paywall because he was sick of dealing with stupid idiots that didn't necessarily get his point because they wouldn't listen for a full 20-minute video, and his point might be contrary to his sarcastic tone that they haven't picked up on because they're idiots. And they'd be like in the comments going, "This is and it's like, yeah, you haven't picked up on the actual undertone of the video, have you? You're one level in, and that's all you can cope with." Well, he was sick of that, so he put all his stuff behind a paywall. And frankly, I don't blame him because he's on the edge of conspiratard, like right on the edge. He's going to get those people there being idiots, and he's going to be sick of it. So I don't blame him. And plus, the limited audience he could achieve with that subject matter on the fringes of the fringes was never going to develop him a living. So he had to put it all behind a paywall. I don't blame him. But he still occasionally plugs his paywall material on YouTube with a short clip about something current. And he'll link to his website with various articles that you can read for free, which I do, because I'm tight.
You got a little bromance with him. You always did.
Really? He doesn't necessarily like me very much, I don't think. I don't think he's indifferent to me most of the time, but, you know, he can be riled up when he's asked about the stars turning in different directions and things like that.
Maybe that's why you're into him.
Maybe that's why I'm into him. That I can rile him up.
Yeah.
No, I like his material.
No, because he doesn't like you very much. And you want to find out why.
I couldn't care less. I like his material. He does good research. He's a good primary source evidence researcher, and he'll show it. That's the main thing I like about him. So he comes up with stuff and you go, wow, that's pretty far out there, you conspiratard. But then because I do have a reasonably long attention span, I can watch the rest of his video and then watch him back it up with his primary sources. And you go, it's still a stretch, but I understand why you've come to this stretch based on your primary source evidence that you presented and cited and given links for, and I can go and look at them myself and read them myself. That's fantastic. I can't ask anything more than that. If you're going to put up speculative stuff that's pretty conspiratorial, cite all your sources and present evidence with sources to at least back your kind of crazy out there claim, because then I'll at least give it my entertainment value time on YouTube. You know, it's just amusement to me. I don't care if 9/11 was true or not, frankly. If, oh, heaven forbid, no, I don't care. But I'll find the amusement in the videos that people make and craft and put the time and effort into showing their sources, doing the actual research, and showing that they have actually put the time into it. It hasn't taken them the 25 minutes it took to press record and spout a load of garbage they hadn't got a clue about. It took them 4 or 5 days of actually researching the garbage that they talked about to present it in a more amusing and seemingly definitive manner. That I like. Doesn't mean I got bromance with him. Subscribe today to JLB. I love him.
You did always have a thing for him, though.
But all of that, but the mere concept of where you're looking at the stars just turn around, and that explains what you think is so mysterious, and I don't get it.
I just see JLB as being sharp. He's got a quick mentality when he's talking to people. You know, I don't know. I like JLB. Don't have to like it. Gonna be where we round out. Looks like it. With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either NathanOakley1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley1980 channel member, gifting out memberships, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!